Hi. I just wanted to take a few minutes to address the heightened level of stress and anxiety that's out there right now. I guess stress and anxiety is nothing new. That's mostly what I see in my work. And I just had a few things I wanted to share that have helped me and have helped my clients. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and I hope everyone is indulging in it because it really is good stuff. And I just wanted to see what I could add. And the funny thing is, I walk around with bags full of books that half of them I don't get to, or I read parts of and just leave them. And I just decided to grab out of my bag a book. And it's called Comfortable with Uncertainty by Pema Chodron. And I just decided to open it. And it said, no matter what comes along, we're always standing in the middle of a sacred space. So I thought that was perfect. And here's a couple things that I've learned that can help keep you in that sacred space of always learning and always growing, because that is one thing that we have control over. We don't have control over the external world and what's going to happen. That is always going to be uncertain. But we do have control over how we receive what's out there. So I wanted to just talk about two things that are very helpful, and one is grounding and the other is breath. Grounding is very simple. It is simply feeling your feet on the earth. So we don't often do that. It seems very simple, but there is a gravitational pull in the earth that holds us up, and it always has. But we live in this fast-paced world where we're chasing from thing to thing, and then something goes wrong, and we're so far up in our heads, we trip over it. We don't even know what to do because we are not standing on the earth and feeling our feet. So I want to talk about how we get there. But first of all, let me talk a little bit about breathing, because it is the pathway to get to grounding. If you are grounded, you cannot be anxious. You can't have both at the same time, because when you are grounded, you are embodied, and when you are embodied, you are present. And when you are present, you are available to the connection with other people and to all kinds of growing that happens in a moment when you are present. So I just want to talk about three kinds of breath that we experience. And one is called anxious breathing. And it is from the diaphragm up, and it is spiky and high. And it's really not breathing. It's really just inhaling. And what it does is a thought will trigger the breath to go up. And then we keep thinking because our breath is up high, and it creates anxiety and can set off an anxiety attack. It looks kind of like this, right? So it's from the diaphragm up, and all it does is keep the spiral of thought going in our head, usually from worry to worry, and the worst case scenario, and things can happen. And it's the opposite of being grounded. And then there is neurotic breath, which is breath that is like this, where we're breathing up, and then we kind of hold our breath. It's, again, a kind of non-breathing, where you're up and you're holding a sustained way. So it's like when you're in fear, when you're in thinking, when you're in worry, you're actually sort of suspending your breath and not exhaling much at all. And then you finally exhale, and then you hold it up. And it creates sort of a generalized anxiety, which a lot of us walk around in all the time. We're often feeling fearful and afraid and anxious all the time. And it's very scary. And both of those states can set off anxiety attacks and panic attacks, which are unpredictable and sometimes seem like they come out of nowhere. Actually, something good could be happening, and all of a sudden you feel like you're having a heart attack and you can't breathe, and it's very, very scary. Anyone who's had one knows how horrifying that is. So there is another kind of breath that often we don't do, which is very grounding, which basically looks like this. It's the opposite, where what happens is you have a normal inhale, and then a nice long exhale, which you hold at the end a little bit longer. And what it does is it keeps your energy and your breath down low. What I have people try to imagine, a lot of times when they're closing their eyes and feeling the breath, is that imagine like you go to the end of the breath, and imagine in your mind's eye that breath goes down to your feet. And just wiggle your toes when you imagine you've gotten there. And that immediately will ground you. And it's really the cure for anxiety, is to have a nice, long, low breath. And what that does is it allows you to become embodied. So what ends up happening, if you do them, maybe let's say you do 5 of them, is the normal inhale, and then a nice, long exhale, holding it down at the end, and feeling your toes. You do it maybe 5 times. You begin to feel your body. You begin to clear your mind. You begin to feel sensations. And you want to get curious about that and start to follow it. It can be scary because we're so far up in our heads. A lot of us don't feel our bodies until we hurt ourselves or we have an anxiety attack and go to the doctor, or we get hurt in some way or come down with an illness. But for the most part, we're sort of not paying attention to our bodies. So sometimes it's alarming and scary to people, but if you really allow yourself to experience it, any sensations you experience are really your body saying thank you for paying attention to where you've been holding the emotions and energy, and thank you for letting it go. And so you might feel a tingling or some kind of sensation that's really your body sort of letting go and taking its own internal breath. What ends up happening is you begin to experience that sacred space. That space within you, usually oftentimes in that heart space where we often feel a lot of anxiety, you might feel a sense of flow and expansiveness and presence. And then you are sort of available to a lot of great things, like miracles, like epiphanies, like a sense of peace and calm, like a connection to yourself, and ultimately a connection to others. You feel more alive, less alone, less isolated, and more part of everything. This is the sacred space. And this is the space that we can achieve simply by grounding yourself and allowing your breath to go down to your feet and being present. So that's what I wanted to share, and I think it's very, very helpful. And remember, you can do it at any point. You can do it when you're feeling anxious, but you can also do it to prevent anxiety. You can do it several times in the day, when you start your day, somewhere through the midday, and when you go to bed at night. Allow yourself to clear your mind and begin to feel the sensations in your body as you let these breaths go all the way down to your feet, allowing the earth to hold you up and allowing you to feel grounded and creating this internal flexibility that keeps you like a nice strong oak tree through all of this, instead of tight like a rubber band so that something external happens that decides how you feel. Instead, when you feel this nice anchor in your feet, you are like a strong oak tree that is affected by life. So you may move with it, but it doesn't break you. It allows you to stand in it. It allows you to actually become present to what you can learn about yourself in a crisis. This is a place of growth and expansiveness, and you will find things out about yourself you never knew were possible. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. And during these really tumultuous times, there is a space of peace and growth and endless possibility for discovering things about yourself and becoming bigger and more connected. Thank you.